everybody. Welcome back to the Hot Girls Learn Hockey podcast. My name is Sarah. This is the show where we talk about all things hockey, the what to knows, the who to knows, and everything in between. Apologies if my voice sounds like crap. Allergy season is among us, and she hit me with a semi-truck. So I'm super congested. No amount of Zyrtec can save me, but we are powering through because that is what hot girls do, okay? Now, with that out of the way, I'm so excited to talk about today's topic. I feel like I say that in every single episode, but I genuinely get so excited about the topics that I pick. So today we're doing the first of hopefully many deep dives on different teams. I thought no better team to start with than my San Jose Sharks. Duh. I did a lot of research into the history of the team. I've been following them this season, but I had only like a very limited knowledge of how they played prior to this season and really just the history of the team itself and all the changes it went through. And boy, did it go through a lot of changes, okay? Which we'll get into. So, who are the San Jose Sharks? That's a really good question. San Jose Sharks are a team based out of San Jose, California. They are a part of the NHL. They are in the Pacific Division and the Western Conference of the NHL. And we can really start its origins back with this team called the San Francisco Seals. They were a hockey team that was in the WHL, which is the Western Hockey League, and they became a team in 1961. They won 3 WHL championships during their time before being renamed to the California Seals in 1966. And then they were renamed again to the California Golden Seals in 1967, and that's when they joined the NHL. They're not a team anymore, or at least that name is, but yeah. Now enter into the story these two men named Gordon and George Gunn III. They were minority owners of the Golden Seals, whatever team, I'm just going to call them the Seals, but they were minority owners of the Seals in 1974 before they purchased this other team called the Minnesota North Stars in 1978. And these guys really, really wanted to bring a hockey team to the Bay Area. So they asked the NHL if they could relocate the Minnesota North Stars to the Bay. And NHL said, no, you can stay where you are. And they're like, okay, all right, fair enough, I guess. But then now enter into the room a guy named Howard Baldwin. So he was a very rich man. He was the former owner of the Hartford Whalers, and he was really pushing as well for a team in the Bay Area. More specifically, he was really pushing for a team to go to San Jose. These guys got these wacky ideas in their head, and then they find each other and then make their dreams come true. So finally, once they kind of did like a proposal to the NHL, like, hey, we see potential in a team being in San Jose. Can we pretty please, with sugar on top, have a team? Then the NHL was like, okay, fine, you can have a team. Oh my God, stop bugging me, okay? And they're like, you can do the team, but you guys, you'll have to sell your shares of the Stars and sell them to Baldwin. And then in return, you guys will receive an expansion team in the Bay Area, and you guys will begin playing in the 91 to 92 season. So they're like, oh my God, slay. And then also they got to take a predetermined amount of North Star players to this new team. So like double slay. We love that. And so now we're up to 1990, and on May 5th, 1990, the Guns officially were awarded a new team based in San Jose, California. Thus, we have the Sharks. And on May 9th of that same year, 1990, that's when the new franchise was approved by the NHL. So now we're on track. We have a team, we have the city, we have the owners, But now we have to come up with a name, which is the most fun part. So they had over 5,000 name suggestions sent to them by mail. And originally, it was going to be the first place winner of that whole whatever, which was the Blades. Like a blade on your skate. But they thought that the name, like the Guns thought that the name was like a little bit too negatively associated with weapons. So then they went with the next most popular one, which was the Sharks. And obviously that's the name that they went with because they are still the San Jose Sharks. So now we have the name, we have the location, we have the owners. Let's pick out a coach, and also where are we going to be playing? So the first head coach, entering stage left, a guy named George Kingston. He was the assistant coach for the Calgary Flames and also the Minnesota North Stars. That's probably how the Guns got his involvement with this new team, because obviously they were the former owners of the Minnesota North Stars. And then its first two seasons, so the 91 and 92, and then the 92 to 93 seasons, were played at this place called the Cow Palace in Daly City or Daly City. I think it's Daly City. It's here in California. I don't know. I've never been there. But now it's like a livestock pavilion. But they would play there at that place, which is really funny name for a place. Like, oh, where are you going to go watch the Sharks game at? Oh, we're going to the Cow Palace. Like, pardon? Like, did I hear you right? Did you say Cow Palace? Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure I'm not on drugs. But yeah, so we got our location. We got our coach. A player named Pat Falloon, or Fallon. I don't know. It's spelled Falloon. He was the first ever draft pick in the organization. He played for 5 seasons. He also led the team in points during the first season before he eventually went off to the Flyers. With any like expansion team, there's going to be struggles. So these first 2 seasons were rough, my brother. They had 71 losses in the 92 to 93 season. Like, are you joking? Are you joking? If you get it, you get it. No shock to us all. Kingston was then fired as coach because of this. They were like, you had one job literally and you fucked it up so bad. We're not going to have you coach. Oh my God, get out of here, please. So this season was an L season, but we did lead the NHL in sales for merchandise and stuff. I believed it was like 150 million or something like that for that season. And so slay, get that bag. We love that. But we also love being a good team and winning. So now we need a new coach. But there's one good thing that came out of this season. And is that on January 28th of 1992 at a game against the Rangers is when Mr. S.J. Sharkey makes his debut appearance. If you don't know who S.J. Sharkey is, or just Sharky, he is the mascot for the Sharks. And they, I don't know if it's gender neutral or not, but Sharky is a menace. Sharky loves peanut M&Ms and eating children. And I'm not going to elaborate on that. I'm just going to let you listen to those facts and form your opinions, okay? Yeah? Got it. So the 1993 and the 94 season saw them moving from the Cow Palace to where they play now, which is at the SAP Arena, or SAP Center. I call it the SAP Center. Same with my one girlfriend who I go to a lot of games with. We called it SAP Center, like, probably like the first like 3 games that we went there, and then we overheard somebody saying SAP Center, and I was like, that's kind of a stupid. I like SAP better, so I call it the SAP Center. So yeah, we started playing at our new home, and then also we were placed in our division in our conference this year too, so Pacific and then Western. We also got our coach finally. Oh my gosh, our next coach is this guy named Kevin Constantine. And there are some big turnarounds in this season, ladies. We finally made the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, I say finally, we've been a team for this is our 3rd season. But we made the Stanley Cup playoffs, which was awesome. But we made it past the first round, and then we did unfortunately lose in the second round against Toronto. I am going to be saying the first part of that sentence a lot in this episode. Just you wait. Oh my gosh, we're just getting started, people. Oh my gosh. Now, just to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals is, a feat in itself. You're doing pretty well on that end. So when they made it to the playoffs in the 94 to 95 season, that was also super slay. But again, they lost in the second round. So now for the 95 to 96 season, we're like, okay, let's kind of start rebuilding our team. We have some pretty slay players, like love them to death, but let's just get some players from other teams and that are like already seasoned, and we'll see, if we can cook with them a little bit. So they did. Also, Kevin Constantine was fired. He was fired midway through the 95 and 96 season. So then they had an interim, I think that's how you say it, interim coach. They had like a temporary coach. It's this guy named Jim Wiley. He was a former Penguins and Canucks player. And so he acted as coach until they got their official next coach, which I'll talk about in a second. But all this leads us into the year 1996. And what is called the Dean Lombardi era. Hockey is so cute for using eras for their different points of their careers and stuff. I love it. So now we're in the Dean Lombardi era, and this will last us from 1996 all the way to 2003. So who is Dean Lombardi? He is our new GM. It was also during his era where we drafted a player named Patrick Marleau in the 1997 NHL draft. He will become a very important player in Sharks history, and his number is hanging up in the SAP arena because they retired his number, and we love his contributions to the team. We also got our new coach along with our new GM. Our new coach is a guy named Daryl Sutter, and he was the former coach for the Chicago Blackhawks, actually. And so for the next 2 seasons, we would make it to the playoffs still, but we couldn't get past the first round, which is, a change up from not getting past second round. But my brothers, I would like to make it to the finals if we could, if we may, if you'll let us. But in the 2001 to 2002 season, the team won their first Pacific Division title, which was pretty swaggy, before again making it to the Stanley Cup playoffs and losing in the second round. Yeah, same old song and dance. I told you I'm going to be saying this a lot. Just you fucking wait, okay? Just you wait. My hands started cramping the amount of times that I had to write the same thing, and eventually I was like, just see previous note, and because I couldn't just keep writing the same thing. And then it was around this time when our good boys, our guns, those guys that kind of started the whole shebang, they sold the team to a group of investors that were led by this guy named Greg Jameson, who's a politician. So now we have new owners. Also around this time, things were kind of not looking good on, team-wise, because there were a lot of contract disputes with Dean Lombardi between players and Lombardi, which and just not coming to agreements on their contracts and such. Also, midway through the 02 and 03 season, we got a new coach now. Goodbye, Daryl Sutter. We loved you, but it was just time for you to go. And our new coach is this guy named Ron Wilson. He was the former coach of the Washington Capitals. Now, this new ownership group really wanted Dean Lombardi to move high-priced players on the roster because of the whole rocky start thing, like I mentioned earlier. But Lombardi failed to do so, so then they fired him. So now we have our next era in our GM journey. This is dubbed the Doug Wilson era, and this lasts us from 2003 up until 2022. And I'll say this, the first season that he was GM for, which is the 03-04 season, was one of the best at this point in time for the team. We have a new coach, we have a new GM. Things are looking up, things are looking swaggy. We love it. Also, I don't know why I keep using the word swaggy. I think it's just because I've been listening to a lot of like Justin Bieber music from 2012 and he says it in Boyfriend, but sorry if it's really cringe. It just kind of comes out of my mouth. I don't know. It has a mind of its own. Anyway, Doug Wilson era, yeah. We also start injecting the team with some younger energy, so some younger players, just kind of trying to rejuvenate the guys. We also, during this time, won the Pacific Division Championship, and we were seated second in the conference, which is really good standings. The 2004 playoffs also saw us make it finally past the second round, so we made it to the third round, but then we lost to to the Calgary Flames. But a win is a win. A win is a win is a win. We didn't lose in the second round this time. We made it to the third. Yeah, we lost. Whoa, well, but things were starting to look up really, heavily. We also, in the 05 to 06 season, got Joe Thornton. He was traded to us from the Boston Bruins, and this trade really boosted team morale. From what I've been told, this just really gave some new light and energy into the Sharks once we got Joe Thornton, or Jumbo. This is his loving nickname. Once we got him involved in the whole shebang. That season, we made it to the 5th seed in the conference, and then in the playoffs, we lost again in the second round. But you know what? It's fine because there's always next season. And the next season, which is the 06 to 07 season, it started off really good with a 27-0 start, which, if you don't know, it meant that we won 20 games, we lost 7. And this season would have us end with the best record in the franchise so far, which is 51-26-5. But again, we lost in the second round of the playoffs. And then again, the next season in the 07 to 08, we made it to the playoffs and then lost in the second round. Like I said, same old song and dance. I got so tired of writing this in my notes. But because of this repetitiveness of getting so close but just not enough, it led to the firing of Ron Wilson. He was fired as the coach in 2008. And then enter into the story, our new coach is a guy named Todd McLellan. I think that's how you say his last name. Sorry, dude, if that's not how you say it. But he was the former assistant coach for the Detroit Red Wings. And his season starts off on a really, positive note, because in the 08 and 09 season, we won the President's Trophy. But we didn't even make it past the first round of playoffs this season. So, it goes up and then it goes down. The season after that, the 09 to 10 season, we got to the third round, which was great, but we did lose to the Chicago Blackhawks, so not great. But I mean, we did end the regular season leading the Western Conference with 113 points. So, you win some, you lose some. I'd say that's a pretty good standing, especially considering how many points we have right now. I'm not going to talk about it. We'll talk about it later, okay? So now, same old song and dance. 2010 to 11, made it to the third round, didn't make it to the finals. 2011 to 2012, we lost in the second round. And it's pretty much the same old same up until the 2015 to 2016 season. At this point, like before, the owners were tired of just coming so close, but not enough. And so McLellan was fired. Womp womp. Sorry. Enter now our next coach. This guy named Peter DeBoer. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his last name. Sorry, dude, if it's not. And under DeBoer's coaching, we actually made it to the 2016 Stanley Cup Finals, which was a huge feat. This is the first time we've ever made it. It's also, spoiler alert, the only time we've made it so far. But we did lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're a really good team. But But even just to make it to the finals was a win in itself, especially after literally coming so close, but just not like pulling the trigger on it all the way, like the past what decade or whatever. But after this, for the 2016 and 17 season, we did lose Patrick Marleau. He was our captain up until this point. And he then decided that he wanted to go and play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So he said bye bye. But we did get him back in 2019. So he wasn't there for too long. I mean, he had played 20 years as a Shark. I feel like once a Shark, always a Shark, you know? We also got a firing of our coach. DeBoer is out. We have a new temporary coach named Bob. Okay, I don't want to mess up this man's name, but I don't know how else to pronounce it other than Bob Boner. So I'm just gonna call him Bob. I'm not gonna refer to his last name. I'm so sorry, my guy. But yeah, so we have a new coach named Bob. Uh Enter last name here. And under Bob's coaching, so the 2019 to 2020 season and the 2020 to 2021, we're not making the playoffs at all. Strange. What is happening? I think things are changing, but not for the better. And after all this, in 2022, we do see the end of the Doug Wilson era. He has some medical issues and then he decides to step back as GM. Enter now, we're in our Mike Grier era, which is what we're currently in. So he's been our GM since 2022 and he still is our GM right now. We also now have our next coach to replace our assistant one, Bob. But thank God I don't have to butcher that poor man's last name. And now we have our new coach, this guy named David Quinn. But you know, things still are not looking up. We played some really shitty seasons. Just not the best. I mean, not what we used to be. And so then David Quinn was quickly fired. And now we're up to our current coach, this guy named Ryan Worofsky. So he's been the coach for the season that I've been keeping up with this past season, the 24 to 25. So now where does that leave us? So we've lost a lot of our veteran players. We don't have Jumbo playing anymore. His number was officially retired this past season. You know, Patrick Marleau hasn't been playing. They're both, you know, older players. They're retired. So where does that leave us now? I didn't feel right giving my opinion as a fan just because I am such a new fan. I did, however, ask one of my coworkers, you know who you are if you're you know who you are if you're watching. Thank you so much for letting me pick your brain at like the last 5 minutes of your lunch. But he has been a fan of the Sharks for a long time. I'm pretty sure he said he grew up in San Jose, so he grew up going to the games and he played hockey. And like played in like the junior Sharks teams or something like that. I'm so sorry. We had like one conversation about that, and then anything after that, I would just like give you updates about the games I've gone to. But I asked him for his opinion on what he thinks kind of went wrong, and just get his opinion in general on what has caused, in his opinion, the Sharks to kind of take this downhill turn. So what he thinks is, you know, obviously after Marleau left, things went downhill. Also, maybe coaching. Our current coach maybe not the best option. I wouldn't be surprised, not gonna lie, if we saw Worofsky being replaced by somebody else for next season. This coworker also said that, you know, we had always had really good defense and that was our strong suit as a team. But like once the coaching started leaning more towards us being better at offense, that's kind of where we lost the plot, really. Well, that's what he feels, which doesn't work, especially as a defense heavy team. It's kind of the whole thing of like, don't fix it if it's not broken, or whatever that phrase is. Like, we had very strong defense. Why do we have to then just switch it up immediately and change to working on offense? Like, let's just do what works for us, you know? Also, with a lot of the older players leaving, and the veteran players, like I mentioned before, he feels that, you know, they were just trying to really cling on to those veteran players and that veteran energy instead of leaning more towards getting these younger guys and this like next generation of players, which is funny. And I said this to him when he told me this. It's so funny, especially because of how their mentality has changed now. Like their whole rebranding of the Sharks right now is the future is teal, because we're getting all these really, really young players. And, you know, these guys that have potential to be really good, but they are really young. So it's, you know, gonna be a trial run pretty much to see how they do in this team, how they do in this season, how they do in the league in general. Uh, you know, we drafted Macklin Celebrini. He was the number 1 overall draft pick for the 2024 NHL draft, and we got him. We also got Will Smith, who was, I believe, the number 4. He was like a 4th round pick or something like that, or the number 4 pick. I can't remember. He is by Pookie, but I don't remember. So that was the opinion of someone who has been a fan for a very, very long time. Saw them go through their really, really highs, their really, really lows, and sees where they are now. But I'm very hopeful as a new Sharks fan to see a brighter future for this team. I do think a comeback is on the horizon. I fear that it will be a couple of years. I mean, Rome was not built overnight. Neither was a good Shark season. This season was a struggle. We've been on a pretty decent winning streak. We just won the other night against Toronto in a shootout, which was a weird case of deja vu because the last time we played them was in Toronto and it was the same thing we won in a shootout. But I digress. I have faith in the future of the Sharks, and I'm really excited to see what this next season brings and what this next generation of players brings to the team. Hopefully it brings a nice new fresh energy that it needs. So yeah, that is all for today's episode. That was the history of the San Jose Sharks. I'm so happy that I started with this team. I mean, I figured I would start with my favorite team. To start off this whole deep dive on different NHL teams. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know which team you want me to do next. This was very fun to learn about the history and to see how, like, kind of what gets put into creating a franchise. Yeah, if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and leave a comment with whatever team you want me to do next. If you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure to give the show a good rating. And again, you can always message me on Instagram for whatever team you want me to do an episode on next. But yeah, that's all for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.